Hello, and welcome to Somewhat Damaged. Don't worry, you're in the right place. I'm still your host, Greg Alperin, and while the name may have changed, the unhinged and unfiltered comedy stays the same. Sit back, relax, and listen to the hot and fresh new episode. Buckle up.
Yeah, I'm actually in LA. I had to come out here for a couple of days before I head to Austin. I just did 2 weeks in Vegas.
Oh,
I just did 2 weeks in Vegas, so I got to get a CAT scan. I think I have brain damage.
Get the fuck out of here. You're fine.
No, I'm serious. Two weeks in Vegas, bro. It was fucking brutal. But, all right,
I heard it.
So we're ready. Go ahead.
No, like 12 o'clock last night, I think they went, or this morning, they went to all mask mandates in Vegas, right?
Yeah, actually it was last Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, it was last Friday.
Last Friday went to full mask mandates.
Holy shit.
And in LA, they're like, they're the same thing.
Right.
This Delta variant. I mean, if you wanted to scare somebody, don't call it the Delta variant. Delta's never done anything on time. It's like, fucking, yeah, mate.
Wait.
So we can, how's this work okay for you guys?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
Where? So you don't live in LA? Where do you live?
No, I moved to Delray Beach, Florida, in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, nice.
I couldn't take. I fucking, it's, I don't know, something about being able to do whatever the fuck I want, not wearing a mask, not being locked down, being able to make a living. Got me thinking maybe I should get the fuck out of here. I mean, I'm a road comic anyway, so I'm always traveling. It's not like I have to fucking live any place.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, I had like 3 big auditions, and we just record them on the iPad and just submit them on your Vimeo account. You don't have to live here now.
Right.
Certainly. I mean, there's no reason to. It's to tell you the truth, like that. They're starting to clean up the homeless problem out here, but the homeless problem is pretty significant. I mean, there's like 30 people living under the bridge, like 2 blocks from my house. I had to get out.
Right.
Oh yeah. It's unbelievable. I was living in LA for a month out in November, and we were staying in Hollywood, and right by like the 405, like one of the overpasses over there, literally they were running illegal power from a station from like a lamppost, and they had air conditioning going and shit. Guy was spinning fucking records at 12 noon, like DJing in the middle of this compound. I was like, what the hell is this? It's out of control. Then Venice is another story. That place is a fucking shithole now.
Well, yeah, Venice and Marina del Rey, which were like really nice areas. I mean, Jesus, go look at San Francisco, look at Portland, look at Seattle. I mean, they got these like 60 people in these 10 cities, 120 people just living in tents. It's insane. I want to see that every day. That's obnoxious.
Yeah, it's great.
I feel bad for those people, but a lot of it's mental illness or drugs or whatever it is, or they're just actors that haven't gotten a good big break.
They're auditioning for Breaking Bad 2. So wait, so you said, so when you're auditioning over like Zooms and on iPads and stuff, like how does that change the audition process?
Well, you can really work on it. You can really work on, what you're trying to, convey. It's, you set up the thing and you get to run it a couple times before you actually record it.
Right.
And you get to do your best version of it, because they're not even looking at a lot of people anymore. Just the fact that you're even auditioning is a big deal because they're only looking at like 30 or 40 people. Whereas before they might look at 200 or 300 people for a specific role. Now it's just, they go, yeah, just get some people that have been working. I mean, the COVID test, like I was just talking, I know it's going to sound like really Hollywood, but I just had a coffee with this director who's shooting this movie in Vegas that they want me in. Jamie Kennedy's attached, and they're thinking about getting Donnell Rawlings and Russell Peters for it. But it's but the COVID tests and the COVID protocols are going to cost them an additional $30,000. So if you're shooting a $100,000 movie, you need an additional $30,000 to cover the protocols because they want you all to live in a bubble and they don't want you bringing it to the set and all this other stuff. So It's changed everything, so. But there is definitely no reason to live out here with the high rents, the high taxes, and everything. Go live in
right. How's it changed the comedy for you, though? I mean, you're touring. Well, just 2 weeks out in Vegas and shit like that.
But I'm a touring comedian. I'm not. That's what I do. I travel the country and I tour
Our
and do comedy
audience
clubs.
is more fun now, though, because they've been
Well,
fucking
it's
locked in.
funny. It seems like now you're doing a mitzvah for the audience. It seems like I don't think they realize how much they missed it. So there's not really a whole lot of heckling. There's people that are just grateful. They're just grateful to be able to laugh again. And believe me, I think it affected people's mental health. This whole thing has affected people. So they're like, yeah, I want to get out and laugh. I want to have a good time. And so, yeah, I think they appreciate it a little more. That's just been my observation. But, but yeah, it's
How it like when you were just in Vegas? Were you like a residency at one spot for a couple of weeks, or were you?
Yeah, well, I was at Brad Garrett's club at the MGM, which is real nice. Sure. It's a real nice club. And then right after that, I went over to the LA Comedy Club, which is a little not. It's just like a regular comedy club, but I was working on a bunch of new stuff.
Right.
And whenever I'm working on stuff, I like to go to Vegas because it's a great kind of a amalgamation of people from all over the country.
Sure.
So you would really get a good idea of how the stuff really plays.
Right.
So the second week I was working on a bunch of stuff, and Brad Garrett's is a real nice club. I mean, I wore suits and ties every night in that place, but at the LA Comedy Club, it was just kind of like t-shirts and jeans, and I was able to kind of go up on stage and workshop some stuff. So that was, every club's different. It depends, what the deal is. So
what's the difference between the audiences in those two clubs?
Well, no, they're great. I mean, they're great audiences. It's a blue collar audience up there. Brad's club, the audience is a little older, a little more, I would say, kind of conservative. But like they're all older folks with discretionary income.
Sure.
And over to Stratosphere, it was a little more, but still a blue collar audience, and they were great audiences. They were just, I think, people are just happy to be out and laughing again, man.
Sure.
For sure.
Do you like when you're working those, those are obviously the exact polar opposite ends of Vegas, right? So you have the Stratosphere way down at one end and then MGM clear at the other. Like, do you like, it's just a different vibe when you're on one side of the strip to the other. Do you like change it up if you were going to work one or the other, if you weren't trying new material out? Or
well, no, not really, man. My act's designed. I mean, I like I said, I'm a touring pro. So the stuff has to work in Philadelphia. It's got to work in Chicago. It's got to work in San Francisco. It's got to work in Austin. It's got to work everywhere. So it's really kind of like, and I'm a very Americanized comedian. I mean, you have to be paying attention to stuff that I'm, that's going on in the world, even to like, just to get the stuff. It's like, so it's got to be funny. But that's my only consideration is that it's fucking funny. And so, but the act doesn't change that much. I mean, I was just working on a couple of bits. I was just working on flushing out a couple premises that I had and trying to turn them into, like I call it like getting a bit performance ready, where it would crush like 80 to 90% of the time. So you just get it. So if there's something that doesn't work, then something I did, not something the audience did.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Philly. You're a Philly guy. Have you been back? Do you still got family over there?
Oh yeah, man. I got 5 brothers. There's 6 of us all together, and they all live in Philly and the surrounding areas like Doylestown and Ben Salem and Huntington Valley. And so I go back, and my mom and dad are still there, and they're still married, and I go back and see them. And and because I moved to Florida, I mean, I'm just a quick 2.5 hour flight, like up, and it flies right into Trenton, and then from Trenton it's $20. It's like a $20 Lyft ride to my parents' house. So I get to see my folks a little more, and they're getting older. So that's a plus of living on the East Coast.
Yeah, definitely. What we're going to get into a little bit later on, but I got a question. Do you have, all right, are you a cheesesteak guy, or are you more of like a Italian roast pork guy?
That's a great question. I actually, I'm a cheesesteak guy, I would say, but I do love the roast pork. The roast pork with like like some broccoli rabe and some provolone cheese. But depending or American cheese and cherry peppers, depending, there's so many variations.
Are you a whiz guy? Yeah. Do you a whiz?
No, I like American cheese with light onions.
All right.
American cheese with light onions, and I have Pat's and Geno's. I go to Geno's.
Okay, see, I don't go to either. I go to Tony Luke's or I go to the Nick's.
Yeah, Tony Luke's is great. And there's a place called Steve Princess Steaks, which is up in the Northeast. And
Oh,
those things,
yes.
I mean, you need a hot shower after you get done with one of those sandwiches. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just messy and gooey and delicious. And, no wonder people, that's what I just read an article said obesity's gotten so bad in Philadelphia that 2 out of 3 people have now become 4 out of 5 people. That's how bad it's gotten. Because they eat this, they're carnivores. They eat a lot of bread with their sandwiches. But that bread's great.
When you're in Philly, right? If you want a steak sandwich, like, are you really going to go to Pat or Gino's, like, or would you just go to your local place?
There's one. I said I would go Steve Princess Steaks up in Northeast.
Right.
Up in the Northeast, because that's actually.
I've heard about that spot.
Yeah,
I heard that's the place to go.
I was doing a gig with Brad Trackman, who's a guy from Brad, and we stopped in and got one of them cheesesteaks. He was like, dude, that was great. Like he couldn't believe it. He goes, I'm gonna take a hot shower after that sandwich. I was
So as a Philly guy, you were jumping because and listen, from Philly you went to LA. You weren't doing like the whole circuit down in Atlantic City and Philly. You just moved to LA to kind of fucking be it.
Well, yeah. No, I did it for a couple of years in Philly, and then I said, look, if I go to New York, I'm still going to have to go to LA eventually.
Right.
I said, so why don't I go to LA, skip New York, and I'll develop out there? And I'm glad I did. It was, it's look, I grew up on the East Coast. I don't have to, I got an East Coast attitude. It was just a matter of being able to develop, started working at the Comedy Store, wound up touring with Sam Kinison for about 5 or 6 years as one of his regular opening acts, which was awesome. Different time period in comedy history, but still just a great kind of fun thing. We were doing theaters, like 5,000 seaters, 6,300 seats. It was amazing. And so I've been doing comedy for in LA for probably 4 or 5 years before I got that opportunity. I went out there when I was 19, but I wound up getting on tour with Sam when I was like 25, 26 years old. And so I had enough polish on me. And I was doing spots every night. I was doing spots at the Comedy Store. Like the one Monday night, we'd go to the Natural Fudge. We'd go over to Monty's Steakhouse in Westwood. Then we'd go over to the Alley Cat Bistro in Culver City, shoot up to the Silver Screen Jazz Room at the Hyatt, which was right next door to the Comedy Store, which did an open mic night, and then go to the Comedy Store for a late night set. So I could get about 5 or 6 sets on a Monday night, which was great. And the first couple times you did that, I mean, you just hit these plateaus as a performer. I just knew I'm not. It didn't feel like an open micer anymore. I felt like I could become a working pro.
When you toured with Sam, were you on any of those tours that did the arenas when he did that?
Yeah, I did all the tours with Sam. I mean, we did 70 cities, then we did another secondary market of 30 cities, then we did the casinos, like the Dunes. We did like a 3-week run at the Dunes in Vegas for 3 weeks, bro.
Wow.
The people at the Olympic Gardens knew us by first name. Hey, what's up, guy?
I went to one of the arena shows in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Back, I don't know, it probably was 1989, maybe?
Yeah, 89 would be it. 88 and 89. I started working with them in 88. We did this club called Bogarts in Cincinnati, which is like 1,000 people.
Right.
And,
I used to go to shows when I was touring with a band. We did Bogarts. Yeah.
That was kind of, and so from there, but then and that's where I started with them. And then from there, we went all over the country. I mean, it was a band of guys. It was Sam Kinison and the Outlaws, which was a guy named Mitch Walters, Alan Stevens, myself, and obviously Carl LeBeau. Now this year, we've just lost 2 of those guys. We lost Carl LeBeau, who died of colon cancer. It was like my real good friend. And Mitchell Walters, who was also a good friend. We lost 2 other guys that,
Right.
Mitchell, I don't know what happened to him. I think he just, passed away from old age, but Carl died of colon cancer. So I feel like one of the last Mohicans, man.
Listen, Jimmy, but you're also still standing. I hear these stories about the Outlaws, and after Sam passed, it was rough times, but you persevered through. And I mean, you were doing spots on ER, you were on Last Comic Standing. How did his death affect you? And I don't want to keep on bringing up Sam, but you know what it was? It was like, I mean, I always took the lessons. I mean, Sam was far from a perfect human being.
by any stretch of the imagination, but I watched his process. I got to see how he developed bits and how he worked on stuff, and you know, not that he was a great businessman either, you know, but after he died, I just said, look, just take all the lessons. I saw how a guy who could get there. And really, kind of Sam was like, he was just a crazy guy, man. I mean, he was like, you know, but it was fun. Believe me, it was fun to tour with him. I mean, back then there was no social media, thank God.
Yeah. While you're hanging out in the dunes, and how many girls you bringing back up to the hotel?
Yeah, but it was a once in a lifetime experience. I had that experience before I was like, you know, 30. I mean, you know, and then I went back out on the road and tried to become the best comedian I was capable of being. That's what I did. I really kind of put my time in. I found my voice, and then I just went to work and just say, look, for me, it was like, you know, fame is fleeting, and some guys are probably more famous than they are funny. I wanted to be a great comedian. That's what I set out. That was my goal. I didn't say I want to do this because I want to become famous, but I had all these opportunities, like you said, doing ER and doing some of these acting jobs. You know, I realized early on that the acting thing is I can get my insurance if I did enough acting gigs a year.
Yeah,
I could also get a pension fund, which I'm certainly available for to get a pension fund. I have a union that protects me. I mean, you know, we're still, you know, I'm still meeting for a guy like that wants to put me in this movie that shoots in Vegas at the end of September. So I'm still doing that kind of stuff, and you know, I've established myself. I was real smart about it. I mean, look, you know, it's like, you know, I can still do the acting. I can still be creative. I'm also a magician, member of the Magic Castle. I got 3 ways to make a living, just not during a pandemic.
Right.
Just not during a pandemic.
So
Close up magic was the first thing went out the window.
I need to go. I need to go to Magic Castle. Sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
How many takes did you go through in that scene with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie where she's shooting?
Oh no, dude! Look, that was the only reason I got that. It was believe it or not, you see that. You don't realize something like that films for like two days. They had one set for 2 days. Sure. I got paid for both days. But the guy that directed that, Doug Lyman, also put me in the movie Go. And he said to me, he goes, look, man, I got this thing. If you want it, you can have it. He goes, you're in the scene with Brad and Angela. And that's all I cared about, really. It's like, as long as I'm in the scene with the stars, I don't give a shit. There's no small parts. They're only small actors. Sure. What people don't realize, by the time a part like that's said and done, I'll make about 25, 30 grand off that. It's just the residuals. Wow. Yeah. So the checks keep coming in. I mean, that was like during the golden age of SAG, but that mailbox money, thank fucking God for that. That kept me going during the pandemic, because the gigs were scarce and few and far between. But you know,
that's good. Yeah, I mean, you know, you see all these residual checks that people post on Instagram, which I think are funny, that are like for a penny and like 2 pennies on some things. I think that's a hoot. But I was listening to a Howard Stern interview not that long ago, and he was talking about how he gets some of these really small residual checks. And he said, someone asked him if he deposits them, because, you know, they're 20 cents, 13 cents. I don't know what they're for. And he was like, of course I deposit them. It's money.
Yeah. Well, I got a direct deposit set up. So the stuff goes automatically into my corporate account. Right. So I just get a running total from, like, you know, I go on and see what's coming in. Sure. They always send me emails to confirm, but it's like, you know, sometimes that money saves you. It's an alternate stream of income. Of course. Like the residuals you get from your radio plays on my albums. I have 5 albums out. They're constantly playing my stuff with Sirius XM and satellite radio. So that's a residual stream of income. Thank God for that. And, you know, and then I get to do my live shows. I get to act once in a while when they let me, and I do some, I like to do, I mean, this was like in my head when I was 9. This was the life I envisioned for myself. Right. Now I'd like to go back and choke the fuck out of that little 9-year-old for ruining my life.
So talking about magic, right? So talking about magic, like, you obviously have done magic since you're a little kid, right?
Yeah, I started doing it when I was 9. Yeah.
So have you continued to, I mean, you mentioned Magic Castle, so obviously continued to do magic.
Well, you know what happened? So I did it until I was like probably like 18. But I mean, I practiced relentlessly during my adolescent years, and the discipline that comes from that. And then when I was 18, I just kind of wanted to find a room and be funny, but I had performed for that. So it just stays with you. It's like riding a bike.
Sure.
And so but about 8 years ago, I went through like this midlife magic crisis, and I started getting
What the
back
fuck
into
is
it because
that?
well, it's just, hey, dude, as far as midlife crises go, that's not a bad one. You know what I mean? I
You just
started
wake up and you're like,
revisiting.
oh fuck, I spent money on this rabbit out of my hat.
Well, no, it was just card tricks. The thing of it is like, I'm on the road. You're in a hotel room. You can go fucking stir crazy. If you have something to work on and develop, I mean, time flies. It's like it gives you something. Like, believe me, a lot of those magic tricks, just a lot of shit involved in that.
Sure.
But nobody knows how much the practice or that goes into making it seem like you're just fucking around. But that's what I said. I always said, like, if comedians took the template that magicians use, the discipline and the hours of practice, and they put that template over their stand-up act, I mean, fuck, you'd have comedians would be so much fucking funnier. I mean, I just think they put so much more work in on their art than say, like, comedians do. Comedians just go up on stage and talk. It seems.
What did you think when they had those shows on Fox?
What's that?
What did you think when they had those shows on Fox where they showed you the tricks of the magicians?
Well, it's just fucking cheesy. I mean, it's like nobody's. The thing about magic is nobody's trying to make you look like a fucking idiot.
Right.
Obviously, the guy's not really a magician. Otherwise, you'd fucking make the deck disappear and make 3 hookers and nightfall appear. Sure. Ta-da! But I mean, it's like, if you just watch it and enjoy it to watch it, then it's great. But you don't gotta give fucking. This is like, it's like one of the oldest art forms in the world. Sure. I mean, just the fact that like somebody put that much work into the presentation of a magic trick, I think if you just watch it and try to enjoy it, I think you'd have a better time. And I need to know how it's done.
Right.
Nobody needs to know how it's done.
Yeah, I'm amazed at magic. Magic, like when you see a good magician, it's like mesmerizing. It really.
Yeah, because that's the thing. That's the one of the rules. There's no bad audiences. There are only bad magicians.
Right.
And I learned that lesson early. So it's like, but yeah, you can come across a bad magician. But what I'm saying is, if you're a good magician, the crowd loves it, and it's it's no big deal. But I just enjoy it because it keeps my hands and my mind idle on the road. I mean, I can just bring a deck of cards and work on some sleights. Right. That's all.
You're listening to another episode of the Somewhat Damaged podcast, part of the Storic Media Podcast Network, and brought to you by Corona Premier, now available on draft.
Yeah, I always love these.
He went and got his D lights, his thumb tip lighter.
What the fuck? Great. What are you doing there, Jimmy? You're taking off. God damn it! It's like I was gonna do this whole thing with the back and the forth and the
Yeah, 5,000 out of work. Everybody wants to be a magician.
Everybody, you know what I say? Everybody wants to be an asshole.
Everybody wants to 15 minutes of shade. That's hilarious. That's funny that you have those. I go, where the hell is he going? And you went and got it. Hey, come on, bro.
Hey, Jimmy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, during the pandemic, I got bored as well, and I used to work in restaurants for a long time. I worked in restaurants, and like you'd always have to like kind of do something. And I remember one of the best things I used to learn was like these stupid things would like make kids happy when I was walking around the restaurant. Like we could play around with it. And then during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I got to pick it up again. Like it was just so much fun. Like I did it on Instagram for like.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's absolutely fun. Side, nobody does nothing. But that little thing. They're fun to play with. There's no question about it. I used to go to St. Christopher's Hospital in Philadelphia, and I would do shows for the sick kids, and they freaking loved it, man. And that's really where I fell in love with performing, was just being able to, like you said, do the D lights or doing a candle through arm or doing some magic for the kids, and and they would just go, they would go crazy for it, But
hey, Jimmy, we got a mutual friend, friend of the pod, Craig Gass. And Craig Gass,
I love that.
Yeah. Craig actually wanted us to ask, because he said it's one of his favorite stories. He says you have the most amazing piece about a makeover show with 2 young people whose faces were disfigured. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
No, it was It's not. No, that's not it. It was. They were on one of these A&E shows, and they were conjoinal twins, and they were connected at the head, obviously. And the one girl is wheeling the other girl around on a little chair thing. And I was watching this documentary, and about halfway through the documentary, the one girl says, "Well, she's working on becoming a country western singer." And I was watching this going, "That's fucking. I mean, you can't really become a country western singer with a midget hanging off your head. I mean, it's not like a mole with a couple of hairs coming out of it. It's a fucking midget on a stick that you're wheeling around. I mean, you couldn't even find a fucking 10-gallon hat to hide your sister. And like, hey, just get in the hat. I'm going to be a country western singer and you're not going to stop me." The midget's in the hat kicking around and the hat's moving all around. "All right, y'all, you ready to boot, scoot, and boogie?" But it was, it's like, and so I'm watching this, and I feel bad for these girls, and then the one girl goes, "Well, I like to date." And I was like, how the hell is that one? I mean, let's say you're attracted. Let's say you were attracted to the larger one, and you want to take her out for a nice romantic dinner. I mean, what's the etiquette on that? I mean, you got to buy dinner for the midget too. I don't mind. I don't mind springing for a plate of appetizers. Here, midget, there's some cheese sticks. So, how long you been involved in a country western singer? Anyway, it's actually on YouTube. People can go check it out if they want to.
Jimmy, we lost you.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I got a phone call. I'm back. I'm back, and I'm better than ever.
We gotta check that out on YouTube.
No, but it is available on YouTube. But it's a whole funny piece. I closed my Comedy Central special with it, and
they're calling back. Come on, that was funny. It was during the pandemic. Yes, keep the recording going. Sometimes we lose our guests, but come on, Greg, how fucking great was that? It was like a little light on your head, and you're like, blow it.
Are you fucking talking about? I'm like, I don't understand. And then blow it off like you blow it off. I don't get it, but it was well done. I'm like, where is John going? That he just got up and left and didn't say anything, and I'm like, there he goes. I'm like, maybe he's going to get a sandwich after all the talks about sandwiches. But nope, he went and got his little toys.
I got my toys.
There we go. Sorry. How's that? Sorry, fellas. I had to.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Is your hooker ready for you? Is that what it was?
No,
The room's ready?
It's my old man calling me. He kept calling me. Now I'll call you back, Pops. Call you back, Pops. Just give me a minute here, will you?
Is he still on the job?
No, it's funny. He is like an old gumshoe. He's always on some kind of case. He's always working on something. I mean, it's so funny. My dad's not really a TV watcher. He's like this. He's just a reader. He just reads, and now he takes all his detective skills and turns them towards the stock market, and he investigates companies and tries to figure out what his investments are going to be. It's crazy. He's like Warren Buffett. He just spends most of his day reading. He does a little bit of trading online, and takes care of my mom.
That's good. That's a good skill to have, I guess. It's better than going to the racetrack and blowing your money on the horses.
Well, I guess at some point it's all gambling, isn't it?
You're
gambling.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, really they say, you can invest. Again, not really. The way these people manipulate the markets.
Yeah. No, that is very true. So one thing I'm like really curious about is like when back in the old days when you lived with Sam Dice, right? Like you guys all lived together?
Well, no, there was a house behind the Comedy Store called Crest Hill.
Right.
Mark Maron had stayed there. I had stayed there. This was like Mitchie. Like if the Comedy Store was college, like you were going to college there, then this place, Crest Hill, was like a fraternity house. It was like a frat house, and comics would come stay there. And at different points, Dice lived there at one point. Sam stayed there at one point. Carl LeBeau, Ollie Joe Prater, Tom Wilson, Yakov Smirnoff. Over the years, comedians have stayed at this place. So when they say that, that's what they're talking about essentially. So at one point, I mean, we weren't like roommates, but there was this house that everybody had stayed at when they first come to LA.
Oh, got it.
Mitzi would put you up. If she thought you were a good enough stand-up, she would put you up and you could stay there, and the rent was minimal until you got on your feet and you figured it out.
And
Wow.
but none of you guys lived there at the same time. Like, was it more than one person?
I think the Dice. I think Carl LeBeau and his wife Christy stayed in one room, and Dice and his wife at the time, Dollface, lived in another room. And I think Sam would just crash there, like during the day after like they got out of bed. He would go out. He didn't have any place to go, so I think he just crashed.
Was it like the those houses that all like the rock guys lived in down the street at like the Whiskey and Around the Rainbow and all those places? Was it that kind of like party house?
Yeah, it was definitely a fucking party house, believe me. I mean, Ted Nugent would come up there, and Billy Idol and freaking Ron Jeremy would come up there with his bevy of, like it was just like, it was definitely a party house. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of sleep. I mean, try to get a little bit of sleep, but man, there wasn't a whole lot we had. But Marin was there. I bet
you that Coke was so good back then too. Oh, not like the shit we have now.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but that was a very tumultuous period. And I mean, I know Mark was there with me. Me and Mark were roommates. Me and Marin were roommates. I love fucking Marin. It's great to see him have success after all these years. It's like, the guy put a lot of work and effort in. So it's I always root for my friends. My friends' successes are my successes.
Did you watch Glow?
I did. Yeah, I did. Caught it. I wasn't a. I would watch it because he was in it. I would just I've caught a couple episodes. Yeah. It wasn't a big, the show was good, but it's about women wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jimmy, let me kind of take that. You said that you're happy when your friends win. What do you currently think about, the comics that are making it big now? Do you consider them coworkers? Are you happy about their success, or do you think that our industry has faded a little bit?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I mean, we're obviously you're dealing with there's a couple things. Obviously, there's guys like Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer that work incredibly hard, as well as Joe Rogan and Bill Burr. I mean, these guys, just work begets work. These guys are superstars. I mean, and then there's, then there's these like YouTube sensations that are out there doing dates at comedy clubs. And one thing is not necessarily like the other. Like, if you're coming to a comedy club and you want to see straight stand-up, then you're not going to catch that with like a YouTube star. Obviously stand-up comedy is a thing. It takes you 10 or 15 years to get good at. And then and so if you haven't put that time in, you're not going to be a great stand-up. But then, obviously people will, you come out to see you, do whatever your thing is. And some of these folks are doing that. But there's definitely a distinction to be made. I'm an old school stand-up. You come to see my show, you're getting 15 minutes of straight stand-up, solid stand-up, setups, punchlines, callbacks, the whole thing. And, and obviously, you see guys like, Bill Burr, and these guys are Doug Stanhope and Rogan and Shubert. I mean, obviously these guys are all stand-ups that have put like 30 years in them, so they're really good at what they're doing. They're not, but all this other stuff. And I talked with Brian Regan about this. Like some of us just thought, just being a great stand-up is enough. I didn't need to know that you had to do podcasts and do all this other stuff. And so but also want to fucking enjoy my life. I mean, how much do you need to fucking know about me? And this week on the Jimmy Shubert show, I'm going to swallow a camera, and you guys are all going to take a ride through my lower intestine. And whoever guesses the correct amount of polyps on my lower GI will get 4 free tickets to my next show at the Improv. I mean, like how much?
I got a question though, Jimmy, and this is like, this is a terrible fucking segue as an interviewer, but Greg's gonna fucking hate this. Yeah, but just recently in the news, Matt Damon was told that he can no longer say the F word, and that his daughter told him. Since being a comic from the late 90s until now, have you had to alter your set in any way to make sure that the audience is comfortable?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I'm smart enough to write around it, but I mean, you're right. I mean, once our sense of humor goes, that's it. We're done. I mean, we're done as a country. We're done as a democracy. Once the fact that you see, people don't see the big picture, and it's kind of cumulative because it's just the little things. It's a little thing, and then all of a sudden, you realize how much you've lost the ability to communicate with free speech, because apparently if you're speaking the truth now, it's some kind of hate speech.
Yeah.
You know, and I find that absolutely ridiculous. I mean, first off, if something can be crushed with the truth, then it should be crushed. I mean, I mean, I always say this to people. You know, your television set is the enemy in your house. It is the enemy in your house. It's full of misinformation. I don't watch the news anymore. At one point, I used to worry about what was going on. I don't even watch it anymore because it's not even news per se. I don't. So-and-so goes after one of her internet trolls and lets them have it. I go, really? Is it newsworthy? Do we really need to waste the time to
Listen,
write
I just brought up a fucking article about fucking Matt Damon not being able to say the F word anymore. And you know what's leading right now? Cuomo. Cuomo is leading in the news right now because he just quit on us. Cuomo just quit.
well, dude, I mean, you know, he's a fucking scumbag. These guys all talk about how, you know, they all hide behind some moralistic rhetoric of, you know, you need to be, well, he needs to resign. Meanwhile, he's a scumbag doing the same thing. These people are all fucking scumbags. They are fucking selling us out a nickel a piece, just selling us down the river. They don't give a fuck anymore about you. My favorite government conspiracy is the one where they convince you that they care about you. They really care about us. They really care about us.
It's just
and the problem is these people sit in front of a fucking TV set. And it's like, okay, TV, who should I be mad at today? How should I feel today, TV? And your fucking brainstem is soft from 30 years of watching that fucking rubbish just filter into your house. It's nothing but, I don't eat out of the toilet for the same reason I watch CNN. You know what I mean? I just find it to be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're in the middle of a fucking, like a psyop. Like, I think this thing is the biggest fucking, like, I'm not saying it's not real, but I'm just telling you the reaction to it by everybody is fucking ridiculous. If my fucking life depends on you fucking being smart, then I'm fucked. I mean, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Yeah,
I have very little faith in fucking, you know, when we're talking about, what is it, kind of 99.7% survival rate? Yeah. Is it scary? Yeah. Did people wind up on vents? Yeah. Did some people die? Yeah. Did some people live? Yeah. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, let's shut it all down. The variant I'm worried about is the communism variant, you know, because you don't realize that everything's being pushed back, and these rights that you think you have, you live in a fucking free country, you're fucking out of your mind. These people, everything you type in your computer, everything you say on your phone, they're fucking listening to it all. And you should conduct yourself and act accordingly because they absolutely fucking are. Not to be like, you know.
I get it. Is there places in America though that you feel that are easier to be around and be able to kind of do your art form in front of than some areas? Like Florida.
Yeah, Florida. Which is why I moved there.
Yeah, even Miami-Dade County.
Well, dude, I mean, you look at like in San Francisco, which is the only city in America where dogs have to walk down the street and worry about stepping in human shit. I mean, you've taken a beautiful city, the jewel of the West Coast, as I like to call it, because it was an East Coast city on the West Coast, and you fucking ruined it. There's people shooting up on the public transportation system. I mean, it's just bad. I mean, these people, look at these fucking people. Look, fucking Andrew Cuomo was a fucking predator and a scumbag, and you would have this guy making any fucking decisions about your life at all. At all, though. The Republicans. The Republicans and the Democrats are all fucking, they're all the same. They're all the fucking same.
Well, it's just a sport now. Like it's literally just a sport. It's who's gonna win. You know, how are you keeping score?
Well, it's professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Because they act like they hate each other. In the meantime, they all go out and spend our fucking tax dollars on these big, elaborate, fancy fucking dinners and eat steaks and $300 bottles of wine, while they're fucking convincing us their side's right or this side's right. And if somebody thinks that one side's better than the other, then that's how I know you're a fucking moron. And you take your IQ with a fucking tire gauge, because it's two wings of the fucking same bird. They've been fucking us for the last 30 years, ever since they killed Kennedy. I love the fucking part. I love the foreign aid package. I love the look. We're just going to send this money overseas for foreign aid. Meanwhile, they run it through this company and this company and this company and this company, and then it comes back to one of their relatives in some fucking well-disguised thing. And they
the
kick
foreign aid
10%
package
up.
for the Philippines back in the 1970s and 80s went right to the Marcos's pockets. You know,
A lot of shoes were purchased with that money. A lot of shoes.
Lot of shoes, bro. It's like
a lot of
asking
shoes, a
them-
lot of fucking shoes.
a lot of Louboutins, bro. A lot of Louboutins going on.
By the way,
Jimmy.
I'm just waiting until like a couple LAPD roll in behind Jimmy because someone's calling the cops. See what's going on back there.
Jimmy, where are you going to be next? This will episode be coming out next week. Where are you going to be on?
Yeah. This Friday and Saturday, I'll be down in. I will be in Austin, Texas, in the Romo Room.
Nice.
And then from there, I go back to. I'm doing Tampa. I'm doing Tampa Side Splitters from October 28th.
I love that room
October
down in
3rd.
Tampa. Such a good
Oh
room.
yeah, it's a great room, and the guy who runs it, Brian Thompson's a great guy. And then I'm going up to Rochester, September 16th to the 18th. I'll be in Rochester at Comedy at the Carlson, which is a great club out there as well. So, but yeah, man, I'm only in LA. I'm only in LA for a couple more days, and then I can get out of here, and then escape back to 2021.
All right, Jimmy. Before you leave, though, one more question. What is the food that you go after when you're in Los Angeles?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's where I'm going to go for lunch after I drop the sewer pickle. I'm going to make a little room. I'm going to go for some Thai food, which is right down the street.
Where? What Thai place?
It's called Thai barbecue. So but it's all, you get the pad thai, the chicken pad thai,
right,
and the cucumber salad, and a couple spring rolls.
So wait,
you can't get that in Florida?
Oh, you can, but it's like the other day I was at a sushi place. I had great sushi. I went to this Aroha sushi with a buddy of mine, and it's just like the sushi is like world class. But then I had that. But you can't. I really haven't found a great sushi place in Florida yet, but I'm working on it.
Wait, so Aroha in Studio City?
Yeah.
That place is the best sushi in that area. Like of all those places,
there's no question.
It's
no question about it. Yeah.
And it looks like a back alley massage parlor.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I love about it.
Well, Jimmy, thanks so much, man. We appreciate you being on the pod, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.